Welcome to the First Round Fantasy Podcast, your first choice for second round advice, with your hosts, Gabriel Miramontes and Jacob Bartley.
Pearl on 3rd and 7. Jefferson hauls it in. Would be Max Crosby. Touchdown, San Francisco.
Welcome on into the First Round Fantasy Podcast. Gabriel Miramontes, Jacob Bartley. We're talking about our fantasy front runners for the 2023 season. But before I go any further, I must say, if I have a lift, I just got some fresh, clean dental work today. I got my first crown, and I just realized how bad it was as I was trying to talk. Not a good idea. Jacob Bartley, how are we doing today?
We are doing well, man. I'm just so glad that football's back. I'm so glad to be podcasting again. We hadn't done as much as we normally do this off season, but I'm really glad to get back to the weekly podcasting again. It's just something I need in my life,
I've certainly missed you, friend. And you know what? We don't owe anybody anything, all right? We do things at our own pace. Can I get an applause? We do things when we want to do them. Everyone else, they're just here for the ride. But we appreciate you so much. If you see anything you do like here today, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps us out so much. You have no idea. And if you do, you'll get a big thank you from us. Air high fives. We can't be together in person, but we are together over this great big thing we call the internet. We can appreciate you more. We are talking about our fantasy front runners today. Listen, there's 1,000 different podcasts, maybe 100, but you listen to us and we're thankful. There's many different podcasts that have different versions of these types of players. The famous ones are my guys, the guys you want to plant your flag on, the guys of Mount Rushmore. Like, you haven't heard those ones? I've heard some of those. Anyways, this is no different. These are the guys that Jacob and I believe so highly in. We are drafting them anywhere, which you're going to hear from me. I don't do often. This is probably the first year where both of my guys, essentially my front runners, are guys that I literally have in 80% of my leagues. And I say percentage-wise because I don't want to go into how many leagues I play. That's just unhealthy sometimes. But I know Jacob's smiling because his is slightly more unhealthy than mine. Anyways, but we're going to get into them today.
More unhealthy, okay.
Yeah, I feel like you play in more leagues than me. That's like common knowledge.
Slightly less, more unhealthy. I just don't know if that made sense, but let's roll with it.
I said slightly less unhealthy. Or no, I guess it would be slightly more unhealthy. Slightly more unhealthy.
No, more unhealthy for sure.
Could you tell that we're both teachers? I'm guessing you could. Anyways, today, that's what we're starting off with. Then we're going to go ahead and dive into our surprise performers for week one of the first of the fantasy football season. My mouth hurts. And then we're going to nitpick some Fantasy Pros flex rankings for week one, as well as let you in on our DFS week one, Jacob. I'm excited to show our lineup. You are too. It's going to be fun. I think eventually once we get there, we're going to need to do one against head-to-head. And then if we ever get enough, we get some good people in the community. We got to start involving them, get some money out here, some prize winners. That'll be a fun time. But we're a long ways from that. And again, we're starting out small with this is the topic, by the way, I had for this. It's our fantasy football foreshadowed front runners, because I went through so many variations of this. I was like, fantasy football front runners.
Football.
Wow,
that's an alliteration if I ever heard one.
Oh my goodness. If we say fantasy football front runners, then people are going to think, oh, these guys are ahead of the pack already. But if I add the word foreshadowed in front of it, then it's like we're foreseeing into the future. These guys will be front runners in their respective packs. So I think that's a good description, which is why it's properly titled our fantasy football foreshadowed front runners of the 2023 season. I can't talk. So, Jacob, I think I should give it to you first. This is it, baby. This is what fantasy is all about. Who's your guy this year? Let us know why and why everybody should draft him.
And just to make things clear, are we doing Are we doing both of ours? Are we doing 1 and 1, 1 and 1?
Let's do 1 and 1. Let's spread the love.
Okay, yes, I do like that.
And then wait, really quick before you get started, let me just phrase it one more time. Jacob Bartley. Who is your? I just can't talk today. Who is your fantasy football foreshadowed front runner for the 2023 season?
Well, my first fantasy football foreshadowed front runner for the 2023 season. And if you know me and you've been around me, and as Gabe has, and you talk fantasy with me even if you just talk fantasy with me one time in the past few months, you know that I'm all about this player. Not only do I think he going to be, this is my bold prediction, I think he could be the top fantasy performer of the whole entire season. And obviously I don't mean among quarterbacks because he's a wide receiver, and that is Garrett Wilson. Now, I will say I think he's going to be the top performing flex player, meaning among wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends. I think he's going to have a monster season. And look, I know that's not guaranteed. It's not locked in. This is me foreshadowing what I think is possible. And I've been saying this for months. Even in my season-long wide receiver rankings, I have Garrett Wilson number 1. And there's a few things that play into that. It's just, first and foremost, last year, I knew one of those rookie wide receivers were going to emerge. And look, Chris Olave is not far behind Garrett Wilson's production. And Chris Olave actually played one less game, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, sir.
So there's a lot of Chris Olave truthers out there. But for me, I did watch a lot more Garrett Wilson games, so there might be some bias in there. But I just think his explosiveness is off the charts. When I watch him play, there's just something electric about him. I love his attitude when he talks to the media, and he's so confident. And this guy was playing with a carousel of terrible quarterback plays. Zach Wilson. Look, Mike White did all right. I believe he played with Joe Flacco. And if I'm not mistaken, he was doing better with Joe Flacco and Mike White. It was just terrible, right?
I mean, Jacob essentially summarized it and say the man won Rookie of the Year with terrible quarterback play.
I mean, absolutely. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year, which is Rookie of the Year for offensive players. And obviously Chris Olave was in the running for that. I think his teammate Breece Hall would have been in the running for that if he didn't get injured. So good drafting by the Jets, by the way. What a installment of young players they have, including Sauce Gardner. Like they're drafting so well. And there's one thing we have not mentioned yet, and that is the addition of Aaron Rodgers. Now, look, Aaron Rodgers didn't have a great season last year, but I still believe in the player. He's getting up there in age, but look what we saw Tom Brady do 2 seasons ago. Like lead the league in passing, support several very high fantasy viable options. And I just think, and look, when Aaron Rodgers played in the preseason, who did he throw a touchdown to? Garrett Wilson. I just think that Rodgers knew what he was doing. I think that when Aaron Rodgers went to his dark retreats in his dark cave, he was meditating and imagining things. And the thing that clicked in his mind, he imagined throwing touchdowns to Garrett Wilson. And that's what led him to New York. So combination of all these things. Sorry, I don't have a plethora of statistics to throw at you, but Garrett Wilson, it's a gut feeling of mine. He's going to be an elite fantasy performer this year. He's going to I see him around a lot of people have him wide receiver 10. He's going somewhere top of the second round in drafts. I think he's going to outperform that. I think he's going to be a league winner this year. Garrett Wilson, let's lock it in.
Garrett Wilson, lock it in. He's currently the wide receiver 11 going in drafts right now. And honestly, man, I love everything about this. It's just when you really think about it, ooh, it's scary a little bit. But I'd take him over a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you believe
Yeah.
in Jared Goff, that's good for you. I believe in Jared Goff to an extent, but like Amon-Ra St. Brown is currently going before him. I'd rather have Garrett Wilson all day. I'd rather have Garrett Wilson over CeeDee Lamb all day. I don't know how far you're willing to go, but that's two guys right there that are already going in front of him. That puts him at a wide receiver 8. So I don't know, man. I think the sky's the limit. And you said you didn't want to go crazy with stats. Think about this. He had 147 targets last year and only caught 83 of those balls. Imagine how many of those were like uncatchable.
I'm sure
Aaron Rodgers is going to throw a beautiful ball. We should see 150 targets. We should see around 110, 115 receptions, which instantly right there is 25 more fantasy points. And all about the yak
adds more
and potential
yards
touchdowns
and potential touchdowns. I think the sky's the limit for this guy.
The writing is on the wall for Garrett Wilson. Jacob, I don't disagree with you here. It's a good take. It's a great one to start the show with. Garrett Wilson, wide receiver for the New York Jets, is Jacob's 2023 fantasy football foreshadowed frontrunner of the 2023 season. Dude, immaculate, Jacob. Immaculate. Let's take some time here. Star Drew, what's up, man? Good to see you. Great to be back. Brand new season, loyal fan. And I think it's time we chip in David Tulane. He never really says hi to us, but he always says hi to Star Drew. I'm starting to think they're the same person. But
hey, as long as they're showing support,
we appreciate you all so much. And Bills and Jets, one high-scoring game. Good call. Good call. Yeah, Jets, Bills. I think it's finally a rivalry. Let's just say that. I think it's finally a rivalry. Gone are the Patriots. Welcome the Jets and the Bills. Anyways, great way to start off the pod, Jacob. You ready for my first one?
I think we all are.
I really like your approach, by the way. You went one guy that's kind of like consensus already in that top 10, but you expect him to take that jump, right? That jump into top 3, top 5 status, right? Both of my guys, you can get a little bit later in drafts, and I think they're going to well outperform their ADP. So that's why today I'm going to bring you my first fantasy football foreshadowed frontrunner of 2023, and that is Jahan Dotson, wide receiver for the Washington Commanders. A little bit of background. Jacob and I did a draft last night, which I predicted about, 40% of Jacob's picks. I'm just good like that. And notice I gave myself a low success rate. But Jahan Dotson was a guy that was sitting there, and I just thought, Jacob talks up a lot of guys, especially when we talk shop with fantasy football all the time. It happens. So I know, I hear it in his ears. I hear it, he talks about a lot of players, and I start to take notice of those players because I trust Jacob's opinion. But when Jahan Dotson was on the board last night, coming up into the draft, and I kind of look at Jacob and I'm like, you know what I'm doing here. Like, And he's like, yeah, I know what you're doing. And it's weird because a lot of people were shouting collusion, but it's not. It's just we literally have we are telepathically commuting with one another. So he knew that I was going to take Jahan Dotson. And I said, hey, you want him, I'll let him slide a little bit. And Jacob's like, oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. And I'm just like, come on, man. But I will say, to your point, Jacob, Jahan Dotson goes against everything in my fantasy football. If I was to write a fantasy football manifesto, the number one rule would be do not draft wide receivers who play with questionable or lackluster or therefore whatever. You know what I'm trying to say? Unproven QB play. And this year he enters the 2023 season with Sam Howell. It's a big question mark. What is he going to be able to do? But what didn't he do last year? You can make the same argument that you made with Garrett Wilson in that he had not the best quarterback play with him, and he was still able to do so much with it. In just 11 games last year, he posted 6 top 25 finishes, including 2 number 1 finishes on the year. 11 games. TDs, they're very hard to predict, and I understand that. But you have to imagine, if the guy can play 6 more games, 7 TDs should be easy to come by. We saw what he's able to do in the preseason. Looks like he's sustaining that high touchdown rate. Let's keep it going into 2023. He looked great this preseason, and I've heard this in a few places, and I just can't stop thinking about it. The Antonio Brown comp. prime time Antonio Brown, similar stature, similar speed, similar hands. Now, he's not there yet, but it's all there. It's all there. I could see, and I think there's so many scenarios that benefit Jahan Dotson. One, he's not going to stretch the field like Terry McLaurin. He is taking over for Terry McLaurin in 2023. He will be the Commander's number one option at the wide receiver position. That's just my bold take, hot take. A lot of people agree, so I guess it's not too hot. He's currently my wide receiver 26, which seems kind of weird considering, he gets lost in this shadow of what was 2 years ago. He was the 16th pick in the NFL draft. Like, that's a first-round pick, and some people write him off. I got him yesterday at the end of the 7th round. Like, I don't know, man. I might be way too biased here. The sky's the limit for this guy. He's currently my wide receiver 26 in front of guys like Terry McLaurin, his teammate, Tyler Lockett, who I do think will finally see some regression because Tyler Lockett is that player that you never draft inside the top 20, and then he always kind of finishes in or around the top 20. I'm also drafting him in front of guys like Mike Williams and Michael Pittman Jr., and just behind other newcomers like Christian Watson and Drake London. Again, the sky's the limit for this guy. You heard it here first, maybe second. I'm not that original. Wide receiver for the Washington Commanders, man. He's my front runner. I can easily see him in a top 15 finish, which is going to well outperform his ADP. That's Jacob.
Yeah, so look, I don't have anything against Jahan Dotson. Like, he
just don't like the man. Say it. Say it.
No, so this happens. I think everybody has these guys that most of the fantasy community loves, and just for some reason you're out. And it's not that you completely dislike the player. The thing is, you're out on the ADP. You're out on where they're being taken. Of course, I would love to have Jahan Dotson on my team, but where most people take him, I'm looking at a lot of other players. And I'm usually reaching for my guys, not reaching like 6 rounds ahead, but I'm usually reaching a round or 2 ahead for guys that I'm very passionate about. So then if it's a guy that I'm not too passionate about, then I kind of just let the people who are higher on him take him. And that's just Jahan Dotson for me. Like, I've been like that. I was like that for Deontay Johnson for years. He was performing every year, and I just, for one reason or another, he just wasn't for me. And I was based on his ADP, I wasn't taking him. So this reminds me of that. And they're not similar players necessarily. I'm just saying that's the similar vibes, feelings that I felt for that player. And so Jahan Dotson is an incredible talent. And I remember I think it was game 1 last year. He started this season with 2 touchdowns. And I think he's going to be really good in this league. It's just a guy where his ADP is a little too high for me. But I mean, not mentioning how many leagues I play in, but with all the leagues I play in, I don't have him in one league.
And so I mean, heartbreaking.
Kind of scares me. I should get some real estate there.
When he pops off, I have him in a plethora of leagues. I will be happy to share the love with you, Jacob, my comrade in fantasy football advocacy. You mentioned some of the guys going around him. Do you remember the pick that you took before, or I guess you took him right after Jahan Dotson? Do you remember? I was pulling it up last night, but what I see on AFC average draft position is a little bit different than how our redraft league shook out last night. So I just wanted to clarify. I'm pulling up.
Yeah, I got to take a look at that.
Oh, you literally took Michael Pittman Jr. and Jackson Smith and Jigba. So totally.
But okay, so
those are
I needed
solid.
wide receivers really bad at that point in the draft.
That's fair.
I mean,
and if you
but
look
you
at
took Jahan Dotson before or after that pick, those picks.
I took him after those picks. So you took 2 wide receivers and you missed up on Dotson.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, but
Michael Pittman is a number 1. I still have Dotson above him.
A smarter fantasy analyst, someone who does not get their emotions involved and have rookie fever, would have taken Jahan Dotson over Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm swinging for the fences with Jackson Smith and Jigba because my wide receiver depth, I only had CeeDee Lamb at that point in the draft. That's it. So I had to take a huge swing with JSN, but I should have taken Jahan Dotson. Smarter fantasy player would have taken Jahan Dotson instead.
I mean, according to AFC, it took him 20 spots early. But, dude, every draft is literally so different. So I only use this for the basis of mostly.
Well, for me, it's like, okay, where did we draft Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave last year? They were probably drafted way lower than they performed. And so that's what I'm thinking with Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I was looking specifically because I thought you were the guy that took. Well, here, let's just play it so we can close this argument or disagreement or conversation for that matter. Jahan Dotson or James White, or not James White, Jahan Dotson or Rashad White, running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And let's just say your draft shakes out where you get a guy like you have like Hill.
You could just say you have an even team, like
you have an even team, sure.
And this is going to be your flex play.
Sure. Sure, Jahan Dotson.
I'm going to go, and this is full PPR.
Yeah, baby.
I'm a big Rashad White guy.
Yeah,
only
Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, I would go Rashad White.
Let's see. Jonathan Taylor, according to AFC, has fallen. I don't know where he went last night in our draft. I'd have to take a look back. But it was definitely past the 3rd or 4th round. He's in about the 6th round here. I take Jahan Dotson. I take his teammate. I take Jahan Dotson over Terry McLaurin. George Pickens is going in front of him. I think I took George Pickens literally like a round later.
A round before. I take Pickens.
Yeah.
I think I still take McLaurin, to be honest.
You mean Dotson?
Oh, no, McLaurin over Dotson.
Oh, get out of here, boy. You know what? I just can't discuss it anymore. Let us know down in the comments what you think about Jahan Dotson, wide receiver for the Washington Commanders. He is my fantasy football foreshadowed front runner for the 2023 season. And you better believe it. You heard it here first. Get out of here.
Hey, so this is even better for you because you're so sure about it. So when you're right, you could be like, you could rub it in my face.
Fair
because
enough. Let's take some.
I have strong convictions on guys, whether it's for or against, and not that I'm against Jahan Dotson, but I have zero hype for Jahan Dotson. So please rub it in my face if I'm wrong.
I will never do that, but I will secretly behind your back. Let's welcome some newcomers. Kyle Campfield. Never heard of this guy, but thanks for coming out, man. We appreciate you. He says, rate my team, 12-man league. He had the 7th pick. He went with Justin Fields as his quarterback, Bijan Robinson, likely his first pick, Garrett Wilson, Komet, and 3 flex starts. Wow, that's pretty cool. Calvin Ridley, Mike Williams, and Brendan Ayuk. Those guys are definitely in your lineup week 1 over Pacheco, James Cook, Juju, and Elijah Moore. 3 flex league, 1 RB, 1 wide receiver. Yeah, man, that's a weird league. Never really seen that before.
12-man, 7th pick, so they must have.
It's a solid team. It's a solid team.
Bijan and then Garrett Wilson.
He's got the nice rushing floor.
I like that a lot.
He's got high upside plays with Calvin Ridley. James Cook, a lot of people are high on. Elijah Moore could be a guy that comes on later in the season. I don't know how you rate your teams, Jacob, but the way I do it is I look at the QB position, rank it. Running back position, rank it. Wide receivers, rank it. Tell me yours while my dog barks.
Oh yeah, I mean, I like the team. I'm wondering who you took in the 3rd round. Was Ridley your 3rd round pick? I'm guessing that's probably the case if I'm looking at the rest of your team.
I would say Ridley as well.
The top of your draft, you're top heavy. I love Bijan and Garrett Wilson. I think that's a recipe for success, especially with Justin Fields. You have a home run hitting team. I mean, I don't know what's your rating scale, if you want us to rate your team, but if this was my team going into the year, I'm feeling on a 12-team league, I'm feeling pretty good about it.
I think what's so good about this league is that it's 1 RB, 1 wide receiver, 3 flexes. So it's already a small playing field, right? You're only starting what? That's a QB, running back, wide receiver, and 3 flexes. That's 6
there's no
guys
tight end spot, right?
I guess there's not. So you're starting literally 6 guys. I mean, QB,
yeah, it's
you got
weird.
a top
I'm
10
playing
guy.
in a league with no tight end spot this year, and it's that dynasty league that I told you about, Gabe, and it's kind of weird.
That's gross.
I just didn't draft a tight end.
That's gross. That's
Why
gross.
would I?
Anyways, Justin Fields, clearly top 10 guy for me. Bijan, top 10 guy. Wilson, top 10 guy. I mean, that's half your lineup right there. These are all top 10 guys. It's Jacobs, front runner of the year. Ridley, wide receivers overall. Man, you got some solid ones. I give him an 8 out of 10. Running back depth behind Bijan, James Cook. I mean, you're banking on these guys breaking out, James Cook, and then Pacheco if he could do what he did last year. Running backs probably a 7.5, 8 out of 10. So overall, dude, you got an 8 out of 10 team here. This is a playoff contender. This team's going to take you far into the playoffs. You made some good choices, sir. Made some good choices. He said that he chose Ridley in the third and passed on Andrews. Good. Good for you. Pass on Andrews all you can. You've been listening to any of the shorts lately, other videos, high fades on Mark Andrews, at least from my perspective. I can't speak for Jacob. He was in a leave of absence doing things with his life.
No, I'm actually doing some work for our podcast, editing some playlists and stuff. But Mark Andrews, no, I mean, so the thing is, there's an injury situation with Mark Andrews. It's not but injury aside, I love Mark Andrews this year. I don't know why he's falling. I have him in a few leagues. I got him in our keeper league that we have in Joe's keeper league. So, and he fell to me like in the 4th or 5th round, and I was very happy about it. Oh, Gabe, can't hear you. I don't know if that's a me thing
Ridley
or you
or Mark Andrews. In this situation, he went with Ridley. I would have gone with Ridley as well.
Yeah. I mean, Ridley has some risk, to be honest. I mean, everybody knows the risk. But I
think
if
both
I'm drafting right now, if I'm drafting today at this moment, I take Ridley.
Well, any new friend of the show or comment, thank you. Thank you, Kyle, for coming out tonight. Air high fives across the board. We appreciate you. Let's move on now. We're going to talk about Jacob's second fantasy football foreshadow frontrunner 2023. Let's hear it, my guy. Let it loose.
So this won't be a surprise to Gabe, but if you're watching this show for the first time, it might be a surprise for you. I've talked about this guy a lot on our podcast this past offseason, and that is Antonio Gibson, another Washington Commander. So we have 2 Washington Commanders.
This is why you can't like both of them. The truth comes out.
Jet, and we'll see what their 4th player is. But Antonio Gibson, look, we've all had our ups and downs with Antonio Gibson. 1 year we're in, 1 year we're out. The years were, his early years, he was getting touchdowns, and just everybody had such high expectations for him, and he never really met those expectations. A lot of injury held him back, sacrificing rushing and passing work to different players held him back. Play calling has held him back. Quarterback play has held him back. But I think this is the year where he kind of puts it all together and reaches his ceiling. I don't think that he's ever going to reach the ceiling that we all thought. But what I'm noticing is Antonio Gibson is falling to me in every draft. And I every time I take him, I feel so good about it because
you took him last night, right, Jacob?
Yes. I think I have him in almost every league other than dynasty leagues that he was already rostered by somebody else, right? Obviously, like hard to trade in those leagues, but I've been high on, and ever since they signed Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator. I mean, I've always liked Antonio Gibson, but I didn't like the scenarios that he was in. I tried to roster him here and there, traded him away a few places, but I think this is the year because, look, Eric Bieniemy's been with the Chiefs. He wants to prove that he can. One of the reasons why he has not gotten a head coaching opportunity, which I think is ridiculous. He should already be a head coach, but hey, let him go prove it without Patrick Mahomes and without Andy Reid. And now he's with the Washington Commanders. And let's take a look at what he did with Jerick McKinnon last year. Jerick McKinnon was doing very well, especially in PPR leagues. He was essentially, you can slot him into your starting lineup at the end of the year last year, and you were feeling pretty good about it. And I think that Antonio Gibson is way more talented than Jerick McKinnon. Obviously, he's not going to be playing with Patrick Mahomes, but in a sense, that could probably be to his benefit because Patrick Mahomes spreads the ball around so much. The Commanders could have a narrow. I mean, it could be McLaurin, Dotson, Gibson. They're most heavily targeted players, and I don't mind Brian Robinson being there. A lot of people might point that out as a negative. I actually think I don't know if the best situation for Antonio Gibson is being a complete workhorse where he's like CMC early year workload or a Saquon Barkley workload. I don't necessarily think that's good for him. I like him. Like, I think he could have been an Eckler type, but I don't even think he's going to reach that high. But for me, it's like, where is Antonio Gibson going in drafts right now? Because he's falling to me every draft I do, and I also am reaching for him too. So not only is he falling in a spot that I'm comfortable, like usually when I see his name, he's like 12 names down from where I pick him. And he always sticks out to a sore thumb like me as a super, super high upside guy that I have no problem taking. So I just think, all things considered, he came out and said earlier this offseason that he's finally going to get to play the position that he wants to play, which is wide receiver. He played wide receiver in college. Right? And not that he's literally going to be wide. Obviously, he's listed as a running back on the depth chart. He's a running back on fantasy apps and platforms. He's a running back, but he's going to be able to run some routes. He's going to get, he's going to get like Eckler, CMC type targets, not necessarily the entire RB workload, but he could see like 7 or 8 targets a game, hypothetically. I mean, even if he gets 5 or 6, I mean, he could do a lot of work with that. And look, right now, he's mostly a flex consideration right now. I would say he's on people's benches or maybe in their flex spot, depending on league size.
You got him in the 10th round yesterday. It's a flex
10th round for me. I think him being a top 20 running back is not too much to ask for, and ending up being someone who can be your comfortable RB2. That's where I think his ceiling is this year. And I'm getting him in the 10th round, and on where I drafted him last night, he's my 4th running back. So if one of my running backs gets injured or one of them don't work out, or hey, maybe all 4 hit and I can trade one of them when teams get needy, I love having Antonio Gibson on my team. It's more of a narrative, philosophical reason, but yeah, I just think he's so cheap right now, and I think Eric Bieniemy is going to maximize his potential.
Yeah, man, you said it. You got him in the 10th round. After the 10th round and beyond, like at that point, whatever cheat sheet you're using or anything like that, you're essentially, you have guys that you like, but also at the same time, you're throwing darts at a wall. Gibson is a perfectly fine play. He saw in his 3rd season in the NFL, last year he saw league lows, or I should say his personal lows in carries, 20 or 30 less than his average was originally. 258 in 2021. He only had 149 in 2023. But we saw his reception pick up just a tad, and we saw what he could do through the air. We know what he could do through the air. That's what he was hyped up as coming out of college. And with Eric Bieniemy, the sky's the limit. If you want Jerick McKinnon, well, Antonio Gibson is probably Jerick McKinnon light, but also slightly improved because he's 4 years younger. So I love Antonio Gibson. I, too, have him in a couple of leagues. And for the price you're paying, for the value you're getting him, it's low risk, high reward. And I think he's the perfect candidate for a fantasy football front runner, Jacob. You got him in multiple leagues. I've seen it. I have him in a few leagues. I'm also very high on him.
Yeah.
Not a bad pick.
And I just do want to say, just for perspective, and look, Jerick McKinnon doesn't play all the snaps at running back in Kansas City, but Jerick McKinnon, a running back, had 71 targets, 56 receptions, 512 yards, and if I'm not mistaken, and 9 receiving touchdowns. Yeah, like that's insane. I'm not saying, obviously he was playing with Mahomes, but like if Gibson can get somewhere close to that, I would love that.
I would love that too, man. I would love that too. There you have it, though. Antonio Gibson, Jacob Bartley's fantasy frontrunner for the 2023 season. Let us know your comments down below. We appreciate you so much. Nice pick, man. We're keeping it rolling today. Keeping it rolling. Trade DeAndre Swift for Christian Kirk. Thanks, Thompson. We appreciate you, man. I'll tell you right now, I'm going Christian Kirk. I don't know about you, Jacob. I'd go Christian Kirk. I want a piece
this
of that
question is based on
offense.
Team needs, but I keep going back to DeAndre Swift. I'm such a sucker. I'm gonna get fooled again. I think DeAndre Swift has something to prove, and he's gonna ball out in Philly this year. So give me Swift.
Just so you know, Thompson, listen to the words he just said. He's gonna fool me again, meaning he's been fooled more than once.
Yeah,
that's all you need
and
to know.
Look, if you need a wide receiver, do it.
Yeah, take Christian Kirk there, man. Thanks, Thomas. We appreciate you. High fives from all around. Thank you. Let's get on with it. We got my second pick. Man, we're flying, but we also have limited time. So let's keep it going here today. Gonna talk about my second fantasy football foreshadowed front runner for the 2023 season. Oh my goodness, that's a mouthful when your mouth is numb. And that's J.K. Dobbins, running back for the Baltimore Ravens. Straight up, man, I think this guy has one of the highest upsides of any running back this year. He's my running back 16 right now. I'm looking everywhere, and I am very bullish. I don't see him that high anywhere else. I'm taking him in front of guys like Breece Hall right now, Dameon Pierce, Kenneth Walker. He's one of the few workhorse backs that I see in the NFL that still remain. Sure, Gus Edwards is there, and he's a fine complementary back. But when Dobbins is healthy, that's one of the few teams where he's getting the work. It's obvious. People are making these arguments about Rachaad White. Oh, well, they only have workhorse backs there. Okay, cool. That's why you're drafting him. Same thing with Dameon Pierce. Same thing with, I don't know, Derrick Henry, but he's not really a part of this conversation. Doesn't help me at all. What I'm saying is he's sitting there. I got him yesterday in the end of the 6th round. I think that's extreme value. He's 2 years removed from that ACL injury that took away his 2021 season. And I get it. The biggest factor here is he hasn't really done it before. He's done it in spurts. He's one of the few running backs in the NFL that's averaged more than 4.5 yards per carry, 4.6 to be exact. I just think, man, that literally the only thing that scares me about J.K. Dobbins is his passing work. He doesn't get any of it. But seriously, I mean, it's right there. It's in everyone's face. But at the same time, if everybody is talking about how Baltimore is going to throw the ball more this year with their new offensive coordinator, how this offensive scheme is going to just change inside and out, don't you think that means he should get at least a sniff of it? Like, if we just add, I don't think he's even gotten like 10 catches in a season yet so far. But let's just say he caught 20 balls. That definitely warrants more than where he's already going right now, which is like, I think consensus has him somewhere around that 23, 24 range. So if he's catching 20 balls, gets a touchdown in the air, maybe 120 yards, something like that, like he's already jumping to where I think he should be. And not to mention, he hasn't been healthy. I get it. That's a huge ding against him. But if the guy's healthy, dude, like I said, sky's the limit. I expect this fresh new offense to feature Dobbins. I think he's going to excel in it. And I think he's going to get a lot of goal line carries. I think he's going to be effective on the ground. And for the first time, this is a huge if. I get that. But we might see him productive through the air as well. So I have J.K. Dobbins as my fantasy foreshadowed frontrunner. And again, I'm foreshadowing this, guys. I'm seeing it happen in real time. What are your thoughts, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, if this was the same old Ravens offense that we had been accustomed to, during the Lamar healthy years, then I wouldn't be too optimistic. And look, obviously there's injury concerns, right? But look, let's try to have a clean slate with these players going into the season. And like, we've seen players have a couple injury-plagued years, and then they're good, to finish out their career for the most part. So, like, hopefully J.K. Dobbins can be one of those guys. But I believe so it's Todd Monken is their new offensive coordinator, and I don't know much about him, but I know he was like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receivers coach for a while. He was their offensive coordinator at some time. He was the Browns offensive coordinator in 2019, 2020 season. And I believe Lamar really wanted him there. It was something to do with that. And like he's a wide receivers coach, he's been an offensive coordinator. They want to improve this offense and they want to, improve the passing game. So I do believe that J.K. Dobbins could get a little piece of that. And look, there's nobody else challenging Dobbins for this role. And
Negative.
If the
it's the same guys who have been there the last 3 years, Justice Hill and Gus Edwards.
Offense is firing on all cylinders, and Dobbins is clearly the most talented guy. And I remember when Dobbins showed up. I don't know if it was for mini camp or training camp this year, and they showed the video of John Harbaugh. Is it John Harbaugh, right? He's the younger brother.
Yeah.
So of him hugging Dobbins, and like that, you just feel that camaraderie. Like they love this guy. They just want to get him on the field, and like I think that matters. Like,
of course,
there's other coaches of other teams that don't really give a f how they treat their players, and I don't think Harbaugh's one of those guys. I think he really like, to him, it's like he believes in Dobbins, so he's gonna get him on the field. So I'm all for it, man. I look, again, another guy that I'm kind of out on ADP, because the thing is I wait for my bargain guys that I get, but I like him. I do like him a lot. I'm not out on him as I am some other players.
I don't know, man. I posted a short about this today, talking about how I was able to get him last night in one of our drafts. I got him in, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at the beginning of the 7th round. And I had multiple people telling me, wait, beginning of the 7th round? Like, it's a value, man. I love Dots. I love Dobbins. Dobbins and Dotson. I'm going double D's this year, baby. Double D's, all in or nothing. But again, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about J.K. Dobbins this year in 2023? And as always, we appreciate you. Big ol' thank you from us. All right. Well, man, we got some comments to get to. Balloon battles. He's battling with himself. Should I do this trade? I received Tua and DJ Moore. I give up Drake London and Deshaun Watson. Nah, man. I wouldn't give up Drake London. I don't really care for Deshaun Watson. I
received Tua and DJ Moore. I give Drake London and Deshaun Watson.
Nah, that's an easy one for me. I'm keeping Watson and Drake London. What about you, Jacob?
I agree. I mean, I think Watson's a significant upgrade from Tua, to be honest.
Oh, that's right. Deep conversations are coming back into my brain.
Yeah, and then like, look, I like DJ Moore. Could do something new here with Justin Fields, but I think Drake London is gonna ball out this year.
Man, I mean, I'm on that side too. But I just forgot. That you were really high on Watson this year. I'm not that high on Watson. For me, it's London. I'm high on London. DJ Moore, I think if you watch that first preseason game and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to get touchdowns every week. No, because not every week you're going to get a 3-yard screen pass for 62 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's definitely going to be some growing pains there, whether we like to believe it or not. But thank you, Balloon Battles. We appreciate you. Blurpy. Thanks, Blurpy. Like the name. What do you think of this team? 10-man league. QBs, Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers. Already 8 out of 10. Running backs, Etienne, Connor, Rashad White, Dylan, and Perrine. I'd give you a solid 7 out of 10. Wide receivers, Diggs, Wilson, Debo, Watson, Judy, and Tony. Talented with a lot of depth play. Guys who could break out. I'm going 8 out of 10. Tight end, Higbee. We're going to be talking about him in a little bit. And defense, Ravens and Myers. I don't know. Raven defenses, they always come and go. I don't really count those guys. But, man, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for me. Solid QBs, solid wide receivers. Running backs are questionable, but if Etienne can do his own, you're going to be just fine. I don't know if Connor – he's going to get a lot of work, but on a bad team, a lot of volume really just means he's a low-end running back 2 for me, which is probably where people are drafting him. And, hey, You're listening. You're getting an opinion, by the way, from the A.J. Dillon truther himself since the year he's come into the league. Jacob, what are your thoughts?
I am the AJ Dillon truther. I get so mad when people drafted me. You should have heard me last night. I will not repeat what I said when he was drafted. But that being said, I love your wide receivers. Your wide receivers are incredible. If this is full PPR, you're gonna run this league. Running backs, I really like ETN. I guess when you take all these wide receivers, you end up with a guy like ETN as your running back one. I really like Rashad White. I really like Dillon, but obviously you could improve your running backs. I like your quarterback situation. One of those guys or both are going to be solid. So yeah, I mean, I like this team a lot. Like if you're loading up 4 wide receivers like that in your 2 wide receiver spots in your flex or 3 wide receivers in a flex, then you're doing well, and you can fill your 2 running back spots pretty well. So, and if Dillon does what I've been saying he's going to do, but I'm not going to predict ever again because it keeps making me look like a fool, then I think your running back situation could get a lot better throughout the year. And P. Ryan is a nice player. I think he's underrated.
Yes, he clarified some things. Full PPR. He said that he likes Higby. Dude, yeah, trust me. We're going to talk about DFS in a little bit. Jacob, spoilers. I got Higby in there for a bargain. And it's a two flex league. Yeah, dude. Your team's legit. Playoff contention. Good luck to you. Let's blow through more of these. Guy, limpy mouth over here today. Sorry. I can't talk. James Cook versus the Jets or Mostert versus Jacksonville. It's James Cook for me versus the Jets. I get it. That offense or that defense with the New York Jets is absolutely filthy. But this game, week 1, is like the perfect week 1 matchup. Division rivals, 2 teams that are top of their divisions for the first time in like 10 years. It's going to be a bloodbath, and I get it. Some of our friends are likely to say, hey, man, you don't care whatever you see in the preseason. It doesn't matter. Well, to some degree it does. And they flat out featured James Cook, which I expect this to be the first time we see a Buffalo Bills running back. Maybe not reliable for the whole season, but I still like him here over Mostert against Jacksonville, even though Jacksonville has a pretty weak run defense. Jacob?
I agree with you. There's so much going on in this game. It's going to be a blockbuster matchup. And what else is going on is Cook versus Cook in New York. I always forget that Buffalo's in New York. It's still weird to me. But, hey, I just realized that they're both in the same state together playing, and they're in the same division. So good for them. And they're going to want to show each other up. So give me James Cook.
James Cook, baby. Let's go. Let's see. Going back down here, we got SWA, 10-man PPR. I guess we're ranking teams again. Herbert, 9 out of 10, baby. Let's go. Bijan, Gibbs, 8 out of 10. Cup, Wilson, and a lot of Wilson. Cup, Wilson, 7, 8 out of 10. Then Njoku, 6 out of 10. Gibson, Judy, Hollywood, McKinnon, Dillon, Burks. Bench, probably a solid 7 out of 10. 8 out of 10, man. You're doing good. What do I do with Cup? Should I panic or hold? Well, seeing as you have Wilson and you don't really have any other strong wide receivers, Judy might also be out. Hollywood's going to be on a bad team. Burks, verdict's out. Johnson could be a late season play. At this point, you're going to have to hold, dude, because if you trade Cup now, you're absolutely getting terrible value.
Yeah, and what can you get right now anyway? That's the thing. But I like your team.
Good team. Good team, my man.
If Cup is healthy, definitely like your team.
Wait a second. We got a Zay Flowers or Jahan Dotson.
Jahan Dotson, come on.
Jahan Dotson for me as well. You heard it here.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Flowers for a second. I was like, damn.
Dude, it's Jahan Dotson all the way. Balloon Battle says another problem. I have too many receivers. I have Wilson, Debo, Deontay, and I have Dotson. Well, you're not getting rid of him. Brandon Cooks, Jerry Judy, and Jacoby Myers. Who should I try to move for an RB? Wow, that is a solid room right there. To be honest, man, I'd move Debo. I think Deontay still is going to, at least for the first few weeks of this season, I like Deontay, and maybe he's more of like a late season trade target. But Debo's the guy I think has the most value, but also it's kind of hard to gauge what you can give for him at this time. I don't want to move Dotson. Brandon Cooks, what are you going to get? He's a 30-year-old wide
have to
receiver.
trade one,
1,000 yards.
if you have to trade one, I guess Debo. But the thing is, Debo's in really good shape right now, and he could have another elite.
He's in really good shape.
There's comparing him to his rookie year, but you're not trading Wilson unless I don't even know what are you going to get for Wilson.
Shut your mouth, Jacob. Move on. Next point.
And I think you got to move Debo in that scenario if you're going to move one.
Yeah, Debo's the one to move, and maybe package him with like a Jacoby. I want to see what Judy can do with Wilson, but I guess and that's fair to say. Like if Wilson sucks week 1, well, you could argue that Judy's not there. So I'd like to see how that plays out first, but Debo might be the one to move. Thanks, Balloon Battles, man. We appreciate you. So many thank yous today. Let's see. Should I trade Hawkinson for Kelsey straight up? I have Schultz as a backup. No, what? Why? Just keep Kelsey. You don't trade the best until he falls off the face of the earth.
I'm wondering, is this redraft?
It's got to be redraft. If it's redraft,
right?
If it's redraft, I don't know. But
I mean, like
if LBR.
What if that's a dynasty question? It's no, right?
If it's a dynasty question, I would trade Hawkinson for Kelsey. Hawkinson's 26.
Because maybe somebody's just out because the injury and they think he's old or something.
Yeah. I feel
but no, I mean, that's a tricky one because people are probably scared because of the injury.
Fair. Fair.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, man. Let's blow through some more of these. We still got a lot to do. He says, hell no. I don't know to what. I'm sorry. Sorry, Balloon Battles. We apologize. Brain busters. Yeah, I got a big forehead, man. That's why I got a big brain in there.
I think he's answering the Hawkinson Kelsey question. I think that's Bloom Bottles was.
Oh, see, it's the chat helping each other out, man. We appreciate you. No, we thank you, man. Thanks, Dems. We appreciate you guys. Let's give them all a high five in here. Thank you, guys. Air high fives from all of us. Let's see what else we got here. Jaden, let's get through him really quick. We all know who this guy is. Need help on who to start? Flex, Miles Sanders, Rashad, Javonte, London, Dotson, Khalil Herbert, Addison, Perrine. You got to start one of those guys?
Am I playing you in that?
I don't know, man. I'm going to go with the guy you probably spent the most draft capital on, say probably Miles Sanders. But that's a tough one.
On who to start?
I love London and Dotson. I'd go with one of those two guys, honestly. London and Dotson. Don't start Addison until you see it, which is probably not week 1. Let's see. I think he says he gets Kelsey. Oh, if you're getting Kelsey, dude, Kelsey is the no-brainer. Yes.
Yes. You're right. Should I trade Hawkinson for Kelsey?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Either way, they knew what we meant.
They knew what we meant. All right, Jacob, we got a second to breathe here. Let's talk about our surprise performers for week 1 of the fantasy football season. Starting with me, I'm going with Deion Jackson, running back for the Indianapolis Colts. Likely, if you drafted more than 2 weeks ago, this guy was on your waiver wire. Heck, he probably still is. I think you can pick him up. I think you can play him this week. He was recently named the starter. Then the very next day, the head coach, Shane Steichen, came out and said, we're going to take a kind of like an RBBC approach, meaning a committee. So that kind of scares me a little bit. But listen, man, 2 RB1 finishes last year, and it's significant because he was getting a lot of passing down work, 10 and 6 targets respectively in his real starts. I don't believe Indy is just going to let Richardson go out there week 1 and let loose through the air or on the ground. He's a prized asset. It's going to be slow going for him out the gates. And this is a game where volume is key. And not to mention, they're going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, a team that was horrendous against the run last year. Jonathan Taylor absolutely feasted every game against Jacksonville over the last, 3 years since Taylor's been in the league. So, yeah, any running back against Indy or against Jacksonville, I'm going for, which in this case, it's Deshaun Jackson. I think with the news that they're going with that RBC approach, he's a solid flex play this week still. Sleeper projections and full PPR have him for about 11.5 points for the game. I'd go 14. I think he lands in the end zone. Again, I think they're going to let the reins slowly with Anthony Richardson. And that's my surprise performer for the week. Jacob, any thoughts?
Yeah, man. Look, we know JT's not playing, so that's a given. And regardless of what they say, we're going to go RBCC. Who else is there? Didn't
It's
Zach Moss
rookie
break
Evan
his arm or
Hull.
something?
Yeah, Zach Moss is out and rookie Evan Hull.
Even if Zach Moss was there, still your argument stands. But yeah, man, look, Dion, he proved it to us. When Taylor's out, you put this guy in. So Jonathan Taylor is not playing. So he performed.
Keep performing. Let us know your thoughts about Deion Jackson, running back for the Indianapolis Colts, surprise performer week 1. As always, we appreciate you guys, and thanks for leaving your comments down below. Let's see. Dan B, I have Hunt. Should I drop him for Gainwell, Vaughn, Algier, Perrine, or someone else? Dude, Perrine. I'd go right for P. Ryan. I'd go straight to the wall for P. Ryan.
Yeah, P. Ryan. He's on a roster, and he's been working with a team all offseason. Javonte Williams is shaky. You should have P. Ryan. Look, I love Hunt, but when is he going to get on a team? Is he going to get on a team? We don't know. I actually really like Kenneth Gainwell as a sleepy pick this year.
Sleepy pick.
Go with P. Ryan.
Also, if you can sacrifice any more space, Algier instantly becomes one of the premier handcuffs in all of fantasy football. So
absolutely.
I don't know why he's on a waiver wire. If you can make that work as well, Dan B.
Like if I have Bijan, I have Algier. There's no question.
Dan B says thank
Every
you.
Every Bijan roster should have Algier.
Every Bijan roster should have Algier. And thank you, sir. Thank you. Jacob Bartley, surprise performer for week 1. Let's hear it, sir.
So for my surprise performer of week 1, I might have to take my hat off because his opponent is the San Francisco 49ers. And I don't know if you know my pick this week yet, Gabe, but it is George Pickens of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And look, this is simple for me. Ever since they were drafted, I said, look, whoever's in charge of like marketing and the Pittsburgh Steelers are geniuses because they were like, get us George Pickens to go with Pickett. It's Pickett to Pickens in Pittsburgh, and it's part 2, the continuation. It's happening. What you saw that first preseason game, I think they're going to have a connection for the next decade, and it's going to be awesome. Unfortunately, they're playing my 49ers this week. I mean, unfortunately for me, because I think George Pickens is going to go off this week. I believe in this guy. Give me him over Deontay Johnson all day, every league, every scenario. And there's other things that play into this. 49ers
you
secondary. You
sounded like you were so ready to wrap it up, and then it's like, let me say 4 more things.
The 49ers secondary is one of the weakest. It's arguably the weakest part of their whole entire team, other than quarterback.
Anyways, Jacob, keep going.
Also, you might say, hey, 49ers defense, pretty good, right? They have the reigning defensive player of the year. And Nick Bosa, their Pickett's going to be so uncomfortable. But Nick Bosa is probably not going to play this week because they haven't signed him to an extension. He hasn't been with the team all offseason. So there's going to have unless there's some new news that I missed, they're going to have no pass rush, no terrible corners. Who's going to defend George Pickens? Who's going to bother Kenny Pickett? Our other I'm trying to be unbiased here. The 49ers' other pass rushers are not even a quarter as good as Nick Bosa. So I think Kenny Pickett's going to have a field day, and it's going to be a high-scoring game, and George Pickens is going to be the beneficiary of that. So I think George Pickens is going to do very well this week, and you will see. I put my money where my mouth is soon.
I only have one question because we got to keep it going. Pickett to Pickens in Pittsburgh part 2. Is this going to be like a thing every year? Or are we going to be on like part 10 if they last that long together?
Yes, absolutely.
Let us know your thoughts
some more
about
peas in there.
Pickens down below. Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver. Surprise former for week 1. I cannot talk at all.
Okay, we're a little rusty. We got to get back in the groove of things.
It's the numb mouth. Who says, hey guys, I'm wondering your opinion on this team I just drafted. $300 buy-in. Well, first of all, sir, let me say, don't tell your wife. And second of all, that's a lot of money. So I entrust that you trust us with your opinions. We appreciate you. 12-team, half PPR. I had the 11th pick. This was his team. Saquon, CD, Cup, Mark Andrews, Terry McLaurin, James Conner, Dak Prescott, Jerry Jeudy, AJ Dillon, Kadarius Toney, San Francisco, Adam Thielen, Tyler Boyd, Carlson, Cordell Patterson. Do you have 2 kickers? No, he does not. First of all, best kicker of all time, Daniel Carlson, going out the bananas this year, as always. Running backs, Saquon, James Conner, AJ Dillon, solid 7 out of 10. Wide receivers, CD, Cup, Terry, Jerry Jeudy, solid 7 out of 10. Mark Andrews, you had another tight end there, I think. Where is he at? Nope, just Mark Andrews. 7 out of 10. QB, Dak Prescott, probably 6 out of 10. Team right here, depth overall. Tony, dude, biggest dart throw in the world. If he hits for $1,000,001. That could be your literal knight in shining armor right there.
Love to hear that. I have him in. I just drafted him last night.
Yeah, I know. You drafted him in front of me when I literally told everybody your next 2 picks, and then you picked those guys. Anyways, AJ Dillon is another guy who could usurp for the first time ever. He could finally usurp Aaron Jones in Green Bay. So if those bench plays hit, they're low risk, high reward guys. Overall, I mean, 7 out of 10, it ain't bad. That's kind of what everything comes out to me. But it's a playoff team. It's a playoff team. You just got to mix and manage your way into that playoff spot. I don't think this team is going to be the team you end the year with, but I mean, you're a smart guy. You're putting money on the line, man. I trust you to make good decisions. And if not, we're always here so you can lend an ear on. And we'll give you our thoughts.
All depends on Cup. Those top 3 can win you the league. All depends on Cooper Kupp's health.
I get really scary about Barkley, man, with that whole contract situation. He could come out there and literally not be featured at all, or they could run him into the ground because, he doesn't have a contract to look forward to, and then he just gets injured. And that nerve wracks me, dude, so much. But he said, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Nah, man. Nah, thank you. Air high fives all around. We appreciate you so much for stopping by. Jacob, we're skipping weekly rankings today because we had our foreshadowed star performers of the year, front runners of the year. So we're going to go right into our DFS plays of the week, baby. DFS plays of the week. This is where we get to show you inside our minds. Jacob and I head to head, $1,000 on the line. That's the joke when I say doll hairs on the line.
Doll hairs. That's kind of creepy, though.
You know what, Jacob? Let's keep going. Here's my lineup.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
I am going at the top. I went real heavy this week. Went with Justin Herbert. He was a big spender, but I decided to pay up to get the man. Goes against Miami. I expect that game to be an absolute shootout in week 1. Some of the matchups in week 1 this year are incredible. That's one of the ones I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on. Aaron Jones against Chicago, weak run defense last year. Don't expect them to get any better. They spent too much capital trying to make Justin Fields better on the offensive side. They're still going to be crappy on defense. Shane Perrine, like him against Las Vegas as a
Samaje Perine.
What did I say?
Shane Perrine.
I had Shane in my head. I don't know why.
That's a completely different name.
Stop. Samaje Perine against Denver. He's kind of my sneaky play, just kind of how the budget worked itself out. I think he's going to get a lot of third down passing work that could result in a nice little day. Justin Jefferson, here the heavy hitter. Spend up on him. Let's just go, baby. Rock and roll. Drake London.
Dave, do I need to hand the Drake London fan club torch to you?
Do you? I don't know. I'm getting giddy over here.
I have to finish
up. I got Chris Godwin next. I think this guy's going to get peppered with targets, whether it's Trask or Baker Mayfield. No 1,000-yard season for Mike Evans. Chris Godwin catching 10 balls a game for 50 yards, and that's why we love PPR. Tyler Higbee. Someone mentioned it in the comments earlier. No Cooper Kupp, no problem. The only other guy that's going to get a ball that night is Tyler Higbee. Although I will say in the back of my mind, this was a situation last year where people were running to waiver wires to get Tyler Higbee because there was no Cooper Kupp. And I think 3 out of the 4 weeks, he did nothing. So I don't know, still going with it. And then Deion Jackson, he's my surprise performer for the week. Went there. I think it's going to be a solid play. He ain't going to lose you the week. He probably won't win you the week, but he's going to get you some points. And then last but not least, Baltimore Ravens. Let's just get after CJ Stroud and give me some points. There you have it. Top to bottom. That's my team. What do you think? You know what? Don't even tell me what you think. Just show me your squad, and we can judge after this. Sound good?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm removing mine. Put yours up. And remember, if you don't have the zoom on there, you got to zoom it in. Bunch of old men here with no glasses.
Oh, how did we do this last time?
Come on, Jacob. There we go. I can see it perfectly.
There we go. Okay, now I just gave all my players away. So
I wasn't looking.
When you started it, I was like, oh my goodness. We went with the same quarterback. And look, Gabe and I established this rule last year. Once we reveal our lineups, we don't make any changes unless there's an injury or something, right? So obviously we're free to make changes if there's an injury. But other than that, if we have the same guys in, that's just how it's going to have to roll out. But obviously we don't have the same exact lineups here. I have Justin Herbert in, so our quarterback is a wash. We're literally going to have the same exact points at quarterback no matter what. I also want to have some fun with this, so I threw in Christian McCaffrey. I paid up big for Christian McCaffrey. I kind of had to build my lineup around those two guys and Tyreek Hill because I had to pay big money for all of them. Your play of the week, I have your play of the week in my lineup and my play of the week. So great minds think alike. Deion Jackson. He's in your lineup too, right?
He's in my lineup, in my flex.
Yes. And of course, I told you I put my money where my mouth is. I have George Pickens was actually the first player I put in my lineup when I made this roster. I went straight to George Pickens because I feel that strongly. Look how inexpensive he was this week, $5,800. I love it. Tyreek Hill, obviously I need some wide receiver firepower to compete with you when you have Justin Jefferson in there. I got Amari Cooper. I think he's very underrated, very affordable on here. He's the wide receiver one for Deshaun Watson and the Browns. He played very, very well last year, even though it was mostly with Jacoby Brissett. Amari Cooper, underrated again, like he almost has been like most of his fantasy career. I threw Kyle Pitts in there. Now, look, I'm scared to draft Kyle Pitts for a season long. But for 1 week, let's see what he has against Carolina. Let's see if him and Drake. Hey, we're going to be watching this Atlanta game. They're going to be in the red zone. You're going to be rooting for London. I'm going to be rooting for Pitts. That's going to be fun.
That's going to be
and then,
fun,
of course,
man. That's going to be fun.
My boy, Tyler Boyd,
Good
the most
you.
underrated player of all time, Tyler Boyd. And then I took Jacksonville against Indianapolis with no Jonathan Taylor, question mark with Anthony Richardson, limited firepower, limited weapons. So I went with the Jaguars against Indianapolis. I almost went with the Niners, but again, likely no Nick Bosa in here. So I'm good rolling with the Jaguars.
There you have it, baby. Nice. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Who's taking it in week 1? Jacob Barley, Gabriel Miramontes. We'd love to hear from you guys. And as always, thank you so much. We appreciate you out there. Wow. Oh, wow, man. It's been fun today. It's been a good time. Let's get to these last few comments before we roll out of here today. While we're talking, also think about a hot take for week 1, Jacob. This was a $200 league. Lamar Jackson, Bijan Robinson. I love this team. Lamar Jackson, top 5. Bijan Robinson, Gibbs. Rookie running backs are the best investment over rookie wide receivers, of course. A solid 8 out of 10. Tyreek Hill, Cortland Sutton. I'm guessing you picked up Sutton later because I'd probably start Zay Flowers over Sutton. I don't know. I got to see it to believe it first with Sutton. But still, wide receivers, solid 8 out of 10. Pitts, let's hope he can rebound this year. Bench, dude, Roschon Johnson literally could be winning leagues at the end of the year this year. Same with Sky Moore, good pick. Gabe Davis, we're both out on him, but hey, someone's got to take him, and that's where you come in. Overall, this team, 8 out of 10. Solid playoff competitor. We appreciate you, man. Thanks for giving us your insights into your leagues. We love it so much. Brandon Gurape, says, should I start Quentin Johnson or Jacoby Myers at flex in week 1? This is tough, man. Honestly, I'd probably go Jacoby Myers here. It sounds gross. I don't know if you're going to see the rookie pop right away. It can happen, but let's just think about Justin
this is the
Jefferson.
Healthiest Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are going to be all season. So
yeah, right. And think about Justin Jefferson, dude. People were literally dropping Justin Jefferson in his rookie season after like the
week 3 was the week.
Man. So I don't know if he comes out of the gates hot. It's disgusting to say. I'd go Myers there. Good luck to you, dude. We appreciate you. He also says, should I start Deion Jackson or A.J. Dillon? Now that is a tougher one. That's a much tougher decision.
Tough.
I got to look up the matchup here. I know Deion Jackson's going against Jacksonville. Really,
I believe Green Bay plays. Man, okay. I thought I had it here. I think he has a decent matchup this week. I think he has they play Chicago.
Yeah, I mean it's not bad. It's not bad.
The thing is with them, it's like you think AJ Dillon's gonna get the carries and the touches, and they just go back to Aaron Jones every time.
Especially in week 1, we saw Dillon absolutely erupt last year, like in the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season. I think it's going to be a very similar game plan. I just don't think this early on in the season. I want to see what Love can do. I want to see what the offense can do first. It's sad to say it, but A.J. Dillon's big game, he might be on your bench, and then people are going to be starting him after that. I'd probably go lean Deion Jackson here for the play. But thank you, man. We appreciate you. Pitts and Bijan all day. You already know, bro. You already know. Corey Wild, Sky Moore over Hopkins if Kelsey is out.
No.
You say no? You say no?
I say no.
It's tough.
Why
man.
Sky Moore? It's like it can be anybody.
It could be anywhere. Now that Tony's
Kadarius Toney, it could be Rashee Rice. It could be
sneaky take too. Sneaky take.
Noah Gray,
new offensive coordinator over there in Tennessee.
Jarek McKinnon.
They literally traded for Hopkins. They got him. So I like Hopkins here. I like Hopkins.
Yeah, no, go Hopkins. I mean, I do.
Yeah, but we appreciate you, Cody, man. Thanks for reaching out. We're going to end it here with Jaden if we don't get anything else. Pitts or Schultz week 1? I mean, you're going with Pitts, man.
I go Pitts.
Before.
High Schultz, upside, rocket.
Out there. Just do what you got to do, man. He says Everett, Komet, Jawan Johnson are all on the waiver wire, I'm guessing. Yeah, I'm still going Pitts. That's the draft capital. You can't beat yourself up if you get it wrong. It is what it is. Dan B says, kicker, deep sleeper, Chad Ryland, Patriots. When has New England ever had a bad kicker? Calling it. Oh, dude, let's go. Let's go, man. Dan B coming in here with the sleeper cell kickers to end the show. I love it, dude. I love it. We appreciate all you guys coming out tonight. Thank you so, so much. If you saw anything you liked here today, please be sure to like and subscribe. It helps us out so, so much. Even if you dislike, let us know what you hate. We appreciate it nonetheless. We'll give you a big old thank you because we can't be together in person, but we are together over this great big thing we call internet. Jacob, hot take, baby. You ready to key us out? It's the first hot take of the 2023 season. Let's get going.
My hot take is that Alexander Madison will be a top 5 running back in week 1. Lock it in.
You heard it here first. Good luck, everybody, week 1. Peace.